Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second panel of the day, how to assess your recruitment process. So today we have with us Petra from IQEQ and Alberto from Deloitte. Welcome both.
Morning.
Hi, everybody.
Well, maybe we start by introducing yourselves. Who are you and what you do in your firms? Petra?
All right. So welcome, everybody, and thank you so much for participating on this interesting conference and job fair. So my name is Petra Major. I'm originally Hungarian. I'm in Luxembourg in the past 8 years. I started my career in the recruitment, then I moved more on the legal administrative part, then I went back to the recruitment. Today I'm working at IQEQ in Luxembourg and responsible for the funds department as an HR business partner, and I'm leading also the recruitment team.
Thank you. Alberto?
Yeah, so good morning, everyone. Thank you for being with us today. I'm Alberto Merigi, and I'm a private equity audit partner at Deloitte Luxembourg. And I also lead the private equity group here. And I am the talent leader for audit. So I'm happy to share with you today some tips and tricks on how to ace your interview and join the industry with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have many questions here prepared for you. Yep. Let's start by what everyone starts with, the CV. Everyone creates their CV. Some people don't update their CV for 10 years if they are already working in the industry, for instance, and at a given moment they see an interesting opportunity or they consider change their career, they review their CV. So what is the first thing that you notice when you receive a CV on your desk?
Because I guess you receive tons of CVs every day.
Yes, so I think that's one of the key aspects, the CV. This is the first thing what when you are applying to a company. I read a couple of articles about that, how many seconds a recruiter spends on the CV. So it's an average 8 seconds. So you need to make sure that within these 8-10 seconds, a recruiter looking at your CV and get all the key information. Not too many, but not too less. So it's key that you mention your educational background with the name of the school and the exact dates. It's exactly the same with your professional background. You don't have to write books what were your daily tasks, but you have to also explain a little bit. So job title, name of the company, from when to when you work there, and maybe 3-4 bullet points. It's also very important that some of the candidates are not mentioning, but do mention your promotions. So if you worked in one company and you had several positions within the company, do mention those positions. It will show that how you progressed within that company. So for a recruiter, we will say, wow, this person got promoted 4 times within 3 years, so shining star. So these are the key aspects. Please do not mention only the year where you work there, but also the months. The day is not really important, but at least the months. So do not just say 2021, 2022. Mention also the months.
Mm-hmm. Alberto, on your side?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Petra, and especially on the fact that the CV should kind of match with your elevator speech, because the timing the recruiters spend in screening the CV is very limited. To give you an idea, at Deloitte Luxembourg in audit, we receive more than 8,000 CV per year. So it has to be very clear and very much to the point. Then, depending on your experience, you can elaborate more or less on your education, but at least from my side, I'm not really interested on where you went to high school, but I'm interested what is your major and what is your most recent professional experience.
Mm-hmm. Together with the CV, we usually have the
cover letter.
Cover letter, yes. Your motivation. Is this still a critical element now that many people apply directly on LinkedIn, for instance, where it's just a click of a button? Are we losing that element? Is it still important?
I think it's very, very important to have a cover letter when the job ad mentions, please send to this address or apply online with your CV and your cover letter. However, if the job ad just mentions, send us your application, you do not have to send the cover letter. However, we do recommend to send a cover letter when your CV needs to have certain explanation. When perhaps you had several job change, you must have a cover letter in order for a recruiter to know why those changes happen. Maybe you have a very great explanation. It's also nice to have a cover letter when you change countries. When you worked in Germany, came back to Luxembourg, then you went to America, came back. So just to explain a little bit. Very important. A cover letter should not be also more than half page. The recruiters, again, will not have time to read 3, 4, 5 A4 pages. The cover letter must be professional. So make sure when you send a cover letter to an X company, you should mention that's the X company. So it needs to have not a too generic one, no spelling mistakes in there. But also do not mix the cover letters, because that's directly create a bad image that you sent a cover letter to IQEQ, sent to Deloitte, for example. So it's a very, very important. If you send one, it should be professional.
And I'm sure if you're mentioning it's because it happens quite a few times.
Unfortunately, it happens quite a few times. So that's something. It takes just a couple of seconds just to double check your application before you send it, because then we directly see, okay, this candidate is just sending mass applications, and there is not an interest for our company, but he or she is just looking for a job anywhere.
Yeah. In a certain way, the motivation letter is only read for the CVs that were already chosen, because if you spend 8 seconds per CV, well, how long do you spend per motivation letter? Usually it probably takes more time to read. Is it already part of the selection process after selecting the CVs?
When we receive an application, if it's a CV and a cover letter, we open both, no matter what. So each and every single cover letter is read by the recruiters.
Yeah.
Yes, because as Petra said,
it depends on the level of experience. So for a more junior position, we tend to start from the CV and go to the cover letter for the selected candidates. When it comes to experience, we look at both. But I can't stress more what Petra said, like make it personal, make it meaningful. You write a cover letter because you have something to say about my company, about why you want to work in the industry, about why you want to come at Deloitte or at IQEQ. That needs to be the content of the cover letter.
Yes, you need to explain the motivation behind the application, of course.
Exactly.
So, any advices regarding the preparation of the candidates before the interview? What is important to pay attention?
Evil, can I just interrupt? So we have a comment here still on the cover letters. Maybe it's worthwhile answering it right now.
Okay, yeah, I can give you the questions. Are bullet points in the cover letter okay? I think it makes reading a lot easier, but I don't know what message it conveys to a recruiter.
I think it's country by country. In Luxembourg, there is no, I would say there's not a standard one. If it's a bullet point, if it's written like as a letter, all accepted. Make sure that the recruiters are focusing on the content. Of course, it needs to look professional, but if you prefer to have bullet points, it's all accepted.
Great.
I think you can highlight the most important things with bullet points.
So getting back to your question.
Yes, getting back to my questions, any specific advices regarding the preparation of the person before the interview?
Yes. The general advice is be prepared and show your passion for the industry. So I'm not looking for specific data on a lot of data, but I need to feel that you want to work in the industry, you have an understanding of of the market. Can be Luxembourg, can be Europe, can be worldwide. So there is a lot of content that you can find. The website of the LPEA is very useful, but you can just find tons of publication. Be prepared and be aware that PE is becoming more and more specific in terms of asset class. So it's not a matter only of industry per se in general, but it has to be somehow tailored to the asset class of your interest, or the asset class you're interested for.
Also very important, you are applying to a role. You have to show interest not only to the role itself, but to the company. That's, I would say, 100% that every single interview you are interviewing in any company, one of the questions will be, why did you apply to our company? Perhaps you are applying to a fund accounting role. There are several fund accounting roles open in the market. You have to show a motivation, why you are applying, why you would like to be a fund accountant, and why do you want to apply to that company. So one of the advice, please do go to the company's website before an interview. You have to have a bit of an understanding what is the core business of the company. That will be also the question. Do you really know what our company is doing? Apart, you read the job description, you read the job advertisement, you got interested. You have to also understand what is the core business of the company. Why are you applying to a big four, a service provider? You have to have a bit of an understanding. You also have to show a bit of a personality from your side. For sure, there will be maybe one or two questions, probably more from the HR side, a little bit about your personality. Maybe you are the best technical experts, you have an amazing CV, but you also need to match personality-wise to the team, to the manager, to the company's values. That's also very important.
I have a question for you, my question. So do you think that it's also important to check the people that you are going to meet for the interview? I mean, the recruiter, maybe it's important to check the LinkedIn profile, because I think it's nice to know in advance the person that you're going to meet and exchange with.
Yes, I think you should try to understand who is in front of you. We run a recruitment process which is not which does not only involve HR people, but also people from the business. So I think it's very useful in the context of your preparation that you try to get an understanding of who is in front of you, what is the level of experience, and you can leverage of it during the interview, because when you are on the recruiter or interviewer side, if it feels nice and it creates immediately a bit of a link, a bit of relationship when you say, oh, you know, I checked your last post on LinkedIn, it was very interesting. It has to be genuine, but it is a very helpful thing to do in the context of the preparation.
Which does not mean stalking people and know their
for several months before the interview
and know the license plates of their cars and saying, I know a lot of things about you.
Yeah.
Yes, Petra?
Yes, and that can already generate questions. Time to time, candidates are blocked during the interview. They are nervous, they want to focus, they want to give the perfect answers, and they are a bit blocked. Very important on the interview, you must have questions. That also shows at the end of the interview, during the interview, if we ask, do you have any question? And the answer, no, I got everything. That also shows a little bit, maybe you are not so interested. So if you have a look at the LinkedIn profile of one of the hiring manager, that already can generate questions. Oh, I saw that you shared something about
on your profile.
Exactly. I saw something about private equity that directly creates some questions. So that also can be helpful.
Well, the questions are important, and I assume for many people, they wonder if they should ask the salary in the first interview. Is that something that the recruiters are open to share, or is it says that the person is not really motivated and they just want to check if it matches their previous job or something.
I think, again, I must say 100% of the time during the interview, the hiring managers or the HR will ask your salary expectations. We may also ask, what is your current salary with the benefits and what is your expectation? So in that case, when you share what you would like to have, we already get a bit of an idea. We know our budget, but I do not really think that in any of the recruitment panel, recruiters or hiring managers would share salary information. That's a little bit sensitive.
I don't think that this is often mentioned in the first interview. I mean, the salary expectations, but mostly after the second interview.
It's curious because it's a matter of practice, because in Anglo-Saxon countries, it's very normal to advertise the salary of that position. So there's a big gap between these two markets, especially for candidates coming from those markets.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, but I was getting there. It's also a bit of a cultural fact, no? Like there are, I mean, in Luxembourg, we are lucky enough to receive application from all over the world. So I don't think there is really a do or don't. It can be cultural. It can also, if you ask for the salary in your first interview, it will show me that that part is very important to you, and it's fair enough. Like it's not a taboo. I mean, again, I think it's people can be transparent. You need to be yourself. So if that's something important to you, ask for it. It's not an issue.
I think it's important, especially when you are willing to move abroad for a new opportunity. I think.
Yeah.
And for example, there are some companies, for example, IQ. When you apply, one of the fields that you need to fill out, what's your current salary and what is your salary expectation? So when we screening the applications, we already have a bit of an idea of during the interview. Of course, we come back to this question. And I must say, out of 10 candidates, 2 will ask, what will be my salary if I get the job? So it's not an embarrassing question, and as Alberto said, it's really cultural.
Okay, thank you. We have several questions here. Let me start with this one regarding interviews. What is the trend for interviews, more general or technical, depending on seniority of the profile?
Yes, I think it also depends on company by company, but in general way, you should expect an interview from the HR side, which will be more the motivation, about your personality, about the fits, the cultural fit, just giving information about the company itself, job description, team structure. But there will be also either a second interview or during the same interview, technical questions where we really assess your technical skills. It depends if you are very junior, so you are just out from school. Of course, technical expertise, it cannot be so there, but if it's the more senior role, the more questions you should expect on the technical question side.
Yeah, fully agree with you, Petra. I think on a junior position, we look for a quick learner, agility, problem solving, etc., because we know that we will build the technical part via training or learning on the job. When it comes to more experienced people, we want to see two things, like it's strong technical, but then also the vision, what you want to do, where you see yourself in 3-5 years. So it's not, don't focus too much on the technical part. Try to think a bit out of the box and give a bit of a vision of what you want to do and why you are interested in that position.
Well, we've been seeing that you sometimes have different views, because that comes from your experience, from the type of profiles you recruit, from the number of recruits you do per year. So maybe we could step back a bit and go through your own recruitment processes to have a general view of how do you recruit, how often, how many people, what kind of profiles you look for. That will probably help us also for people watching us to formulate questions that are more suited for your needs and what you are looking for today. Petra.
I think maybe we could start with how we recruit. So since the COVID, most of the companies had no choice than transfer the recruitment process and went on an e-meeting with candidates. Some of the companies, they already went back to the face-to-face interviews. For example, here at IQEQ, we kept the e-meetings. So we are doing all our interviews via a Zoom meeting or Microsoft Teams. However, we do meet candidates face-to-face when we have sometimes during an online meeting, you don't get the same sense, you are not so sure, then you invite the candidate for a face-to-face interview. As regards to recruitment, number of recruitment, we are approximately doing 150, 170 recruitments each year. So as you can imagine, that's really a massive hirings. We have approximately 4 to 5 interviews on a daily basis. And we try to meet out of 10 candidates, maybe 1 or 2. But when we are also not sure, we try to give them a phone call and to have a speed interview just to get a bit of an answer to our questions. One of the recruitment channels is also meeting candidates via job fair. So we already have a bit of a 10-15 minutes to meet these candidates. So it's very important for candidates that they are looking for a job or looking to start their careers, attend job fairs. This is the best channel where you are able to meet several companies on the same day and get as much information as possible.
On my side, the process is very different if we talk about junior people or more experienced people. Maybe I would like to focus on a more junior profile, which means from people fresh out of university to 2-3 years of experience. So we are well, we were forced to go online, as Petra mentioned. Now we want to go back to our previous model, which was working very well. So we organize what we call recruitment days on the recurring basis. So there is not really a recruitment period, but it's ongoing. And what we do in these days is that we close the recruitment process in one day. So we welcome people at the office. There is a technical and a language test. Then we organize a lunch where people can network between themselves and with some of the professionals from the areas they have applied to, and we use that lunch to assess the soft skills. Then in the afternoon, they go through the business interview or the technical interview. And then if the recruitment process is successful, they walk out our office in the late afternoon with the envelope and the offer inside.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing your processes. I have a question here. From Alessandro. He says, I would like to know how the recruitment process works if I want to move from investment consulting to PE, front office like M&A or deal advisory. Do you have any suggestion for my situation? Thanks.
So this is someone moving in between areas of the financial services industry.
Yeah, for my suggestion for this kind of move would be create a network in the area where you want to move if you don't have one already, and leverage on that. Usually, from my experience, this kind of moves they don't really happen just by apply and sending one CV. You need to have a network. You need to invest a bit behind that. Invite people for coffee, go out for lunch, try to get information, try to understand when is and where is the right moment and the right place to make the move.
It's very important what Alberto just said, the internal network. In Luxembourg, we could say that's an easy one, but internal network is key. So one of our main recruitment channel, which is working the best, 80% of our hires out of the 100% received CVs internally is via internal referral. So it's a win-win situation for both sides. So get to know as much as people, get information, answer all your questions before you make any kind of career change. We always, as recruiters, we always used to suggest you should have maximum one time career change in your career, and it should be somewhere in the beginning. So after 2-3 years, afterwards it's a little bit more difficult, because once you reach a senior level assistant manager, going back to the junior level, that could be a bit problematic and frustration as well.
Okay, thank you. Just a comment here for Alessandro. I think you need to watch the first panel of the day regarding the front office roles, and maybe contact Olaf Cordes. As he said, contact me directly if you have this kind of questions regarding M&A and deals.
Still on that transition from one area to the other, if there's something that we've been doing at LPEA is the LPEA Academy, precisely to give new skills, new tools for people to discover private equity and get more knowledge and know how to apply and what kind of job profiles fit them better. So we are assuming that people from one certain area of the financial sector, or even without finance experience, can actually find a position in private equity. What is your opinion about training, about MBAs, about gaining qualifications to change to that new area that you want to achieve?
That's also very important. So you can also find always a company which has a really existing academy. For example, at IQEQ, we have our IQEQ Academy, where we are offering professional qualifications, internal trainings, done by our internal experts, external trainings. We try to make sure that we provide as much as training as possible. However, we also do believe that training on the job, so learning by doing, is also very, very important. So 80% of the training should be learning by doing. Maybe a couple of percent you can learn from a technical expert, but you do need perhaps external trainings.
My pure personal opinion is that training is becoming more and more important, because the market, the talent market, is becoming more and more competitive. Probably it was not, it wouldn't be so important a few years ago, but now it's an industry full of opportunity. It's an industry which we had the privilege to work in. It's pretty much on fashion, if I may use this word today. But because of this, it's becoming more and more competitive. The quality is getting higher and higher, and we see that the level of the candidates that we get is higher and higher, because they get prepared and they do it via training. And the one of the LPEA is a very good one as a starting point for putting a foot in the industry.
Okay, thank you both. I have received several questions here, so we need to step back. The first question is, how do you think we can map out the important points about the company for the interview besides the annual report? On the website,
for example, go ahead, Albert.
No, go ahead.
Okay, for example, people like to hear during an interview that information which is not only about the annual report, but a little bit about what are the values of the company, what is the vision of the company, where they are going to. Do you perhaps know anybody else in the company? Do you know the key values of the company where you are applying? Really know the core business. What is the company doing? Not only on the sector where perhaps you are applying to, but maybe you are applying as a fund corporate officer, but try to also get to know about the depository, the AIFM port, the transfer agency. So you have a little bit of a helicopter view. So maybe you can, that's also something, preparation before the interview.
Yeah, fully agree with you, Petra. Like there is not only the annual report. Like usually websites are very useful, but then ask questions during the interview. Show that you want to know if it is not only you being a match for the company, but the company must be a match to you, and you can discover it. You can inquire about that during your interview.
And it's also good. You went on the website. Some of the candidates said during the interview, I went on the website. I tried to understand, but I don't understand what is your company doing. So really, apologies. Be honest. We really appreciate such comments as well.
Well, websites, it's a good tool, and all the information they put out there. And these days, well, and I speak for LPEA, we have a very active LinkedIn page, for instance, where we communicate a lot. Companies are also on social media, so they can check, but candidates are also on social media. And I assume this is a very rich resource for you recruiters to check the profiles of your candidates, either in more social networks like Facebook or Instagram, but also on LinkedIn, which is a more professional platform where usually put forward more their professional interests. How do you use this social media to help in your selection process?
One of the advice for, especially more for junior people, register and be on LinkedIn. That's key. That will be key for your professional career later. I think the more experienced people, I would say 90-95% of the professional people in Luxembourg, they're already on LinkedIn, but the youngest one, not yet. So also already when you are about to finish with your university, make sure that you register on LinkedIn. People are headhunting in Luxembourg, so that's an open tool. We use LinkedIn on a daily basis, hours and hours headhunting for profiles. How we headhunt for profiles? Keywords. That's the way most of the recruiters and headhunters are trying to find profiles that match with the job description. Therefore, it's very important once you are on LinkedIn, your LinkedIn must have a little bit of keywords, a couple of bullet points mentioned, in order that you can be found by headhunters.
Maybe except from the do's, we can mention the don'ts here, what they should avoid. Alberto?
Yeah, be professional and use LinkedIn as a professional tool. Basically, LinkedIn is a combination of your CV and cover letter in one place. So follow the companies that you are interested in, post on what you are interested, and especially comment on make relevant comments, and don't underestimate the fact that when we screen your LinkedIn profile, we go through your comments. Okay, so it's not Facebook, it's LinkedIn. It's a professional tool.
I recall also that we discussed about political comments at some point in our previous call. Is this a sensitive area too?
That's quite a sensitive area. So as Alberto mentioned, we couple of times we double check your LinkedIn profiles. We see the history, we see what you liked, we see what you comment. Any kind of, I don't know, political, ethnic, religious type of comments, avoid. This should be completely avoided. Recruiters, hiring managers are checking your profiles, and we see everything.
So reminding that platforms such as LinkedIn are professional platforms and not social communities where people can share more stuff like their hobbies and things. Okay, so that's a big note for especially young candidates, as you said, who sometimes don't have a very complete also LinkedIn profile because they don't have that much experience, but every bit of experience they may have had during their young career is relevant to feature there too.
And I think also recommendations are quite important, right? To ask recommendations from previous employers or people that you work together.
That's very, very important, and it's so easy tool to use. So take the advantage for that. Another important part: mention your spoken languages. This I see more and more that people forget to mention that here in Luxembourg, there are 4, 5, 6 languages are spoken, very important. Mention your education. You don't have to go to high school, etc. Your highest education. Mention all your work experience, just as your CV. Your CV should match with your LinkedIn profile. So do not make any kind of mistakes in the years, in the months where you worked. Do not just keep a couple of experience while you are mentioning it either in your CV or on your LinkedIn profile. So your LinkedIn profile should function as your CV. So that should be matching spelling mistakes. If you are unsure of your English, it's better to double check maybe with a native English speaker. Very important that it also shows a certain professionalism.
Yeah. And it looks obvious, but we do that check as well, especially for the experienced people, and quite often we find the discrepancies between the two. So make sure they are aligned, because it's something that the recruiter is looking at.
Mm-hmm. We have several comments here as well.
Regarding salary, it's quite a hot topic. So, a question from David. Is it fine to answer that you do not have any minimum salary requirements? As a beginner, I am way more interested in the line of work I'll be doing than salary differences.
Let me add that salary may also change according to the country where you are, because cost of living is different, and a candidate looking for a job in Luxembourg from abroad may not be well acquainted to the actual cost of life, and so the salary standard might be different from his or her country of origin. How do you deal with this?
Exactly. So most of the time when we are hiring people from outside Luxembourg, when I say outside Luxembourg, it's outside of the greater region, we do not really ask salary expectations, because answer most of the time market range, we do not know, I need to make a research, so it's not really a relevant question. Also for junior profiles, we really like to hear that they are more interested on a junior level outside, just finished the university, they're interested for the company, they're interested for the job, they want to learn instead of focusing on the salary part. The salary part in a professional interviews are starting once you have 1-2 years of experience in Luxembourg. Then it starts to be more important than before.
Okay, and one more question that combines the salary and the change of the career path. So Rim says that salary is an important factor in order not to waste the time of the parties, as sometimes there are budget considerations from both sides. How do you feel about an experienced candidate ready to cut on his salary when willing to redirect the career but leveraging from its transferable skills?
For me, it's perfectly fine. I think especially in case of a career shift, there has to be a bit of investment on your side, on the candidate side as well. So for me, it's actually a positive sign which show the motivation of the person to take up the new position.
Exactly, I agree. We have time to time candidates applying for a junior position while they already have 3-4 years of experience on somewhere else. These candidates just need to be realistic. They cannot keep their current salary on a higher level if they go back and change their career to a junior level. So on a long-term basis, at the end, it's a win-win situation. You will start, but perhaps you will progress in a 2-3 years time where you've been before. And if you stay in this career, the sky is the limit.
Yeah, and we see very often that in terms of when there is a shift, the salary might be a bit lower and the pace might be a bit lower, but then your experience will come up and you will catch up later on. It's quite common.
Mm-hmm. And then don't forget that laterwards you will have really rich CV. So in you had 2 years of experience on somewhere, and then you switch career, you gain 2 other experience, you have 4 experience, that you just make your experience more rich, which is really valuable in Luxembourg.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think we're somehow coming to the end of our session, but we would still like to know if there are any particular challenges that you have been facing in the recruitment processes lately? If the profiles have been changing, we already spoke about the coming from virtual meetings to physical meetings again. I don't know if Brexit had any particular reaction on the types of candidates that we received. Would you like to draw any considerations on your latest experiences?
Definitely. I think I could say in behalf of most of the companies in Luxembourg, the market is extremely hot. So everybody is willing to change much more faster than a couple of years ago. Time to time, if I would have a look, for example, 6-7 years ago, when we screened the CV, perhaps we could have said a couple of CV were job hoppers. Nowadays, it should not be a criteria anymore. A certain stability is really, really important, but we cannot accept to reject people just because they are changing jobs too fast. Regarding the Brexit, of course, it's a complicated one because now those people need work permit. So before we easily hired people from the UK, now work permit. We do accept work permit application. However, it's just extending the process. Work permit takes 6 weeks up to even 2-3 months. So we would like, when we are searching for a candidate, we would like that this candidate can start quickly. And waiting now just for a work permit, that's a little bit time to time it can be problematic. So right now the market, we are really facing difficulties to find the right profile and keep the right profile for as much as possible. That's the biggest issue today.
Yeah, I fully agree. It's a challenge. It's a positive challenge in a certain way. It's full of opportunities, and the talent market is very hot. Yes, we need to get equipped, because when you look at the market, when you talk to clients, it can only get bigger and bigger. So yeah, that's in my view the challenge that as a community in Luxembourg involved in the industry we are facing on our respective different roles.
Thank you very much. Maybe can you briefly mention how many applications do you receive per year, in order to know?
Alberto mentioned 8,000, right?
Per year.
Yes. So we received we received for junior position 4,600 application last year, and 16% of these application got to the first interview. So it's a quite a strong screening, and we rebound on the of the beginning of our conversation. So the CV and the cover letter are really important, because only 16 people out of 10 with us go to the first interview, and that's purely based on the CV. When it comes to the experience people, so 3-4 years of experience and up, last year we received 2,600 applications, and we have a 10% success rate in terms of getting to the first interview.
One question that I recall we discussed when we prepared this call. In some countries, there are certain universities of election, sort of elite universities, and in management and finance, they usually tend to facilitate the access to certain jobs, while secondary universities may make it difficult for students. Is this the case in Luxembourg? Is this I would not say an exclusion, but a factor that puts you down in the priority list?
No, at least not for us. We accept CV from everyone. We really assess the person. I mean, obviously, we look at the educational path, but if I may put it simple, we don't discriminate based on which university you have attended. We assess the profile that is applying.
It's the same for us. When you have two applications in front of you, more or less similar profile, master degree, for example. One is from the elite university, one is from the, let's say, from any other university, maybe in a lesser ranking one. Probably we will invite both profiles, and then during the interview assessment, we'll make the final decision.
Okay, great. I think it's good for the participants to know this. Any other questions from the audience? Maybe you can make your comment.
Yeah, well, I would just like to wrap up. I noted some things down. So first, very important, always put the right company in the motivation letter when you send your application. When you want to move to a new sector, you better create a network in that sector to support you and to give you information actually also about that sector. That's very important. Keep focusing on training. Make sure you are on LinkedIn. This is the professional platform these days. Honestly, at LPEA, we have been tracking also the different job profiles that are being requested in the market, and LinkedIn is by far the platform where we can find more job positions. So that means that it's a very active platform in the alternative space, at least, or in the space that we operate in. Make sure that your LinkedIn matches your CV. That's super important. And apply now. It seems that the market is hot.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of vacancies out there, and probably your career or your next career. And later on, we will be very happy to welcome you in the association as well through the companies to which you will apply, or the company which you will join. Do you have any last remarks, Anthony?
No, I think we have covered everything. I don't see any other questions from the participants. Thank you very much, Alberto. Thank you very much, Petra, for being here. This was very insightful. And I will recommend to the people to start visiting your stands and all the stands in the forum section to have one-to-one meetings and meet you and knowing you better.
Thank you for inviting me, and good luck to everyone.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Come to meet us on the other channel.
Have a great day.
On our side, just a reminder, so the next session that we have here, the next discussion is at 1:30, and it will be on diversity, inclusion, and equality. So join us, 1:30. See you then.
See you there.
Have a good lunch.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.